In a world that often applauds strength and overlooks struggle, some people walk among us carrying unseen burdens, souls forged in silence, resilience born from pain. These individuals often don't stand out in obvious ways, but they possess depth, emotional wisdom, and a unique capacity to sense what others miss. Drawing from Carl Jung's psychological insights, particularly his ideas on the shadow, persona, and individuation, we explore 13 signs that you may be one of these rare individuals, someone who has endured deep suffering and emerged with a sacred, unshakable strength. 1. You carry wounds that don't bleed. Some pain isn't visible, it doesn't scream, and it doesn't always announce itself. You've learned to wrap your suffering in silence, to hide it behind composure, behind strength. The world doesn't see the emotional labor it takes for you to stay upright, yet you're still here, still standing. According to Jung, the refusal to acknowledge these inner wounds often forces them into the unconscious, where they quietly shape our behavior. But in your case, these wounds have become a silent badge of honor, proof of endurance without needing applause. 2. You've mastered hyper-independence. There was a time in your life when depending on others wasn't safe, so you didn't. You became your own shelter when no one else showed up. You built a fortress out of necessity, not pride. People now admire your strength without recognizing the cost. They lean on you because it's easier than asking what it takes for you to keep standing. But the truth is, strength became your mask, not your choice. Jung's notion of the persona explains this well. It's the social mask we wear, often mistaking it for our real identity. 3. You sense what others can't say. You read rooms with uncanny precision. You sense the tension behind smiles, the sadness behind laughter, the truth behind silence. This sensitivity didn't come from nowhere. It came from growing up, needing to predict emotional storms before they arrived. Jung would describe this as part of the shadow self being projected outward, making you hyper-aware of others while remaining disconnected from your own feelings. Your empathy is not just a gift. It's a survival skill you perfected long before you understood what empathy even was. 4. You give more than you have. You're the emotional anchor, the listener, the healer. Even when you're drained, you show up. You confuse being useful with being lovable. If you're not needed, you feel invisible. Your worth, somewhere along the line, got tied to what you could do for others, not who you are. This isn't altruism. It's a coping mechanism. It's a way to avoid abandonment by becoming indispensable. But as Jung warned, healing doesn't come from projecting our needs onto others. It comes from facing ourselves. 5. Love triggers. Alarms in you. Even when love arrives, genuine and soft, it unsettles you. You flinch, you doubt, you wait for it to disappear. Every unanswered message, every shift in tone feels like proof that you'll be left again. So you build emotional walls, not out of cruelty, but out of protection. The fear of being seen and then rejected runs so deep, it seems safer to remain hidden. But as Jung taught, these unconscious fears will drive your life until you make them conscious. 6. You push people away before they can leave. Better to sabotage than be surprised. Better to be alone on your terms than left without warning. You convince yourself you don't need anyone, but that's not true. You've just been taught that needing people is dangerous. Deep down, you're still haunted by old betrayals, by the pain of being dropped after being fully seen. You protect your heart by pretending it's made of stone, but it's not. It's simply been bruised too many times. 7. Your strength is a reflex, not a choice. People call you strong, and you hate that word. Because strength to you isn't triumph, it's survival. It's being the one who keeps it together when everything else falls apart. It's saying, I'm fine when you're breaking inside. Your breakdowns come in private. Your grief is quiet. Because if you fall apart, who will hold the pieces? Jung's concept of the persona, again, reminds us how easily we lose touch with the real self behind the performance. 8. You've forgotten what it's like to be held. You're used to being the one who comforts, who understands, who holds. But when it comes to your own needs, your own tears, you hide them. Vulnerability feels like exposure, not connection. You long to be held, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. But it's been so long, you've forgotten how. Real healing, as Jung noted, begins not with strength, but with softness, with allowing the self to be seen without fear. 9. You still find beauty in small moments. Despite everything, you still notice magic. The way sunlight hits the leaves, the comfort of a quiet morning, the warmth in a stranger's smile. You haven't lost your ability to feel. That in itself is resilience. That is the part of you suffering couldn't take. Jung called this the process of individuation, the integration of shadow and light, pain and peace, into a whole self. You are already walking that sacred path. 10. Your pain has given you depth. You see the world differently because of what you've endured. You hear what isn't said. You notice what others overlook. Your silence isn't emptiness, it's fullness. It's the weight of everything you've carried and everything you've learned. You hold space for others, not because you've never hurt, but because you have, and survived. You've become the kind of presence others need because you never had it when you needed it most. 11. You don't feel broken, you feel reborn. The world sees scars and thinks damage, but you know better. You've been shattered, yes, but rebuilt stronger, softer, wiser. Jung believed that transformation is like alchemy. Pain is the lead, and the soul's awakening is the gold. Your suffering was never meaningless. It forged something sacred in you. You're not a damaged soul. You're a reborn one. 12. You're learning to let go of roles that kept you safe. The roles you played to survive, caretaker, peacemaker, perfectionist, they protected you. But now they're suffocating you. You're learning to unlearn. To say, I see why I became this way, but I don't have to stay this way. You're learning that you don't have to justify your caution, your silence, your depth. They are not flaws. They are adaptations, and you get to choose which ones you keep. 13. You're still here, and that is a miracle. Maybe no one ever told you this. Your existence is a triumph. You may have walked through darkness, but you did not disappear. You felt like giving up, and still you kept going. That is sacred. That is strength. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And you, in your quiet persistence, your soul-deep healing, your refusal to harden, are becoming just that. The quiet revolution of healing. Enduring deep suffering doesn't leave you unchanged. It leaves you initiated. You become someone who listens more, feels more, holds space more generously. You don't just survive, you transform. That's what Carl Jung meant by the alchemical process. Turning pain into wisdom, shadow into light, trauma into presence. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become next. So if you see yourself in these signs, know this. Your sensitivity is sacred. Your silence is meaningful. Your scars are symbols of strength. You don't owe the world an explanation for how you survived. You owe yourself a life of wholeness, rest, and truth. Healing is not a straight path, and it's not always visible. But it is always real. And if you're still breathing, still feeling, still daring to love again, you're already on the way.